The Flash has flopped. The Flash is now out in theaters right now. And despite the fact that I think it is a great movie, I mean, after I saw the movie last month, the very first thing I said is, this is not one of the greatest comic book movies of all time, as some people at Warner Brothers are trying to tell you that it is, but it was great. I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed it a lot, as a matter of fact. Actually, the vast majority of people seem to like it. A majority of the critics seem to like it. I think it's sitting around the 65, 66, 67, 68% critic rating. And a bigger majority of the audiences like it, sitting around 85% and higher of an audience rating. But going into the opening weekend of The Flash, I've been saying there are a number of things stacked up against The Flash to the point that I won't be surprised if it opens as low as 40 million. But I also said, I think the movie's great and is going to have pretty good word of mouth. And so I won't be shocked if it opens as high as 120 million. Well, the projections put it at $70 million opening weekend. And that was already not great for a $200 million film. And that pretty much put it on par with Black Adam. You know, Black Adam opened to $67 million, right around the 70 that they said The Flash would. And Black Adam failed to even make $400 million at the box office. So already with a projection of $70 million, that wasn't great. Well, the opening weekend numbers are now in, and it's worse than we thought, as outlets are now reporting that The Flash has opened with $55 million. And listen, while in context, we have to acknowledge that there are many films that would love to say they opened to $55 million. The reality is, for a big tentpole comic book film with a budget of $200+ million, it needed much better than that. It needed way bigger than that. So I thought we would take a second here, because the natural question we're going to be asking is why? Why did this movie, that by all accounts seems to at least be pretty good movie. Some people think it's all right. Some people think it's pretty good. Some people like me think it's great. Apparently there are some people who think it's one of the greatest comic book films of all time. I'm not one of those, but still, why did this movie struggle so much? Now, like anything else in life, there are probably many reasons, but I want to highlight three particular causes, I think, for The Flash to struggle this much. The first one is the current state of the DC film slate. DC movies are in a terrible state right now. I mean, for a while, for years now, DC films have really, really struggled to catch on with the audience, to catch on with the critics, and to catch on with the box office. And actually, you could make an argument that DC has never really lived up to its potential, going back to the launch of it with one of my all-time favorite comic book movies, The Man of Steel. A lot of people argue that never lived up to its potential. Well, the state of DC is pretty bad. Now, let's take a look at the last three DC films that have come out. This just puts it in context. James Gunn's The Suicide Squad, which I think is a great movie, only made $26 million on its opening weekend, went on to make $168 million in total. Now, a giant asterisk has to be put by that one, because The Suicide Squad came out when Warner Brothers had their idiotic mandate to drop all their films on HBO Max on the same day that they would go theatrically. So I don't think it would have done a ton better, but you at least got to put an asterisk there. Well, then you had the biggest movie star in the world, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson's Black Adam, a movie that had literally been in the works for 15 years. And it came out, and as we said, only opened to $67 million and couldn't even make $400 million at the box office, pulling in $393 million. Well, then we got Shazam 2, a movie that I think is good, but it continued to struggle because the audience, nobody seems to care about DC right now. $30 million opening weekend, $133 million worldwide. And heck, even if we wanted to go back even further, if we wanted to go back to The Birds of Prey and the Fabulous Emancipation of One Harley Quinn, that movie only barely made over $200 million worldwide in its entire theatrical run. So DC has not been in a great place. You juxtapose that against, the last Marvel film, Guardians of the Galaxy, which is closing in on $850 million. So it's just the DC area is in a pretty rough state. Okay. So if we're saying that reason number one is that DC movies are in a terrible state, then the second thing I would want to point out is the Ezra Miller controversies. Now, there have been some people that have said, you know what? Nobody outside of the hardcore movie geeks, the really hardcore movie geeks, people who make and watch shows like this one, really even know about the Ezra Miller controversies. But I've contended that I think it's been a little bit of a bigger story than that. And I think you've seen a lot of passionate people saying they didn't want to watch anything involving Ezra Miller. And, hey, I get it. I respect that, whatever. But I think that had a bigger impact on what has gone on here with Disney or with the DC films here, in particular Flash, than a lot of people want to acknowledge. All right. First reason, DC movies are in a terrible state. Second movie is the Ezra Miller controversies. The third reason is somewhat connected to the Ezra Miller stuff, and that is they had an absence of a traditional press tour. It is difficult to get on the road and promote your film when your main star can't do any press. Well, why couldn't he do any press? Because the minute they put him in front of reporters, the first question wasn't going to be, what was it like to act alongside yourself? What was it like to act alongside of Michael Keaton? Those weren't going to be the questions. The questions were going to be about babies in houses with guns and putting your hands on a woman's throat and breaking into people's houses and, and parents taking out restraining orders again. Those were going to be fair or not fair. Those were going to be the first questions that reporters are going to ask, and it was going to completely take away from the film. Now, look, there are many other reasons, I'm sure. But those are three of the big ones that really jump out to me. But all of this really underlines a bigger issue. And that is, with every new DC movie that comes out, it re-emphasizes the absolute necessity that James Gunn reboot this thing. Listen, what we're seeing right now are the effects of the fact that the DC film universe wasn't working. And right now, it's not because of Flash. It's not because of Black Adam. These are the after effects of the fact that the audience has generally given up on the DC films. And I don't think they should have. I personally like every DC film except for Wonder Woman 84 and Birds of Prey. Those are the only two DC films I didn't like. Other than that, I like all the rest of them. But the reality is the audience has abandoned it. And they abandoned it a while ago. No matter how much I like the movies, no matter how much you like the movies, it is what it is. And if they were not rebooting this thing, you can bet your ass that would be the continuing results that we would see. Now listen, when they do reboot this thing in 2025 with James Gunn's Superman Legacy, I'm going to tell you right now, that movie is not going to be a billion-dollar film because it's going to take them a while to regain the movie audience's trust in DC. That first movie maybe will make $500 million, but that's okay. They got to understand that they have to now start the process in sports terms with a team that has all of its major stars retiring. They're in a rebuilding phase. They're in a rebuilding phase right now, but they got to get started, and that's what they're doing with Superman Legacy. Guys, we want to thank a sponsor of this video, Rocket Money. The average person has around 12 paid subscriptions. Think about that. If you think you're only subscribed to a handful of services, you might want to double check. With Rocket Money, you can quickly identify and cancel all of your unwanted subscriptions. Rocket Money, formerly known as Truebill, is a personal finance app that finds and cancels your unwanted subscriptions, monitor your spending, and helps you lower your bills all in one place. Rocket Money will quickly and easily identify your subscriptions for you so you can stop paying for the ones you don't want and don't even use. Simply find the subscription you don't want and press cancel, and Rocket Money will cancel it for you. No more long hold times with customer service or tedious emailing back and forth. Rocket Money makes canceling subscriptions as easy as the click of a button. My wife Ann and I moved out of Burbank 2 years ago, and one of the first things I discovered when I loaded up Rocket Money was that I was still paying for a gym membership I haven't even been to in Burbank in 2 years. So stop throwing away your money. Cancel unwanted subscriptions and manage your expenses the easy way by going to rocketmoney.com/Campea. That's rocketmoney.com/Campea. rocketmoney.com/Campea. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about all this? I mean, were you expecting that The Flash would open as low as it did? Maybe you thought, like me, it would be a bit higher. Maybe you thought it would be a little bit lower. What do you think about the reasons I'm giving as to why I think it struggled so much? Do you agree with them? Would you add some reasons to it? Would you replace some of the reasons that I have in there? And can DC, with a reboot now, get back on its feet starting in 2025? Or are you one of the film fans that believes they should just keep going with DC the way that it is? Whatever you guys think, jump down into the comments section below and let us know your thoughts. Hey guys, thanks for checking out this video. Make sure you like and subscribe to the channel, but more importantly, make sure you subscribe to our daily podcast, the John Campea Show podcast, available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and your favorite podcasting app of choice.